All right, Joellen, it's hot.
It's July.
It's July. And folks, I don't know if they really want to go out there and water their plants. So can we help them out? You give them a few ideas?
Yeah, and something that they can do right away. One of the first things that you can do, if you haven't already done this, is mulch. Simply putting some mulch on the ground will help retain moisture in the soil, and it also will help keep the temperature more stable for the roots of your plants. It can also help, when it degrades, it'll add nutrients to the soil. And of course it prevents that crust, because sometimes when the water hits the soil surface, it puts a little crust layer on the soil. And then when it rains again, that layer is so tight that it lets water run off rather than soak in the ground. And mulch helps prevent all of that. So mulching is a great idea. Another thing that you can do to help yourself and your plants is to water either in the morning or in the evening before the sun sets. You've got to let the flowers and the leaves dry off before the sun sets, because that's going to set a perfect scenario for diseases to set in. So you want to prevent that. But watering in the morning and watering in the evening is a nicer time of day. It's cooler. Morning is the best if you can do that. But you know, with people hectic schedules and trying to get to work, as long as you water in the evening before the sun sets so that leaves can dry off, that's a good time to water. Another thing you can do is plant groups of plants together that require the same types of water requirements. And you'll know, how do you know you've done that? Well, if you have a container or an area, then you've planted a whole different kinds of plants in there, you water them, and then some of them die. Well, they didn't like that much water, or you don't water them enough, and some of them lived and some of them didn't live because you didn't water enough. Well, you'll know that the water requirements for that particular plant that didn't live is not conducive to the other plants that you've planted it with. Good examples for some dry kind of flowers and plants that can take drought would be like your dusty millers and your lantanas. Also, there's some grass called Mexican feathergrass. It does really well with dry areas. Then, of course, for larger trees, you got your hollies. Anything with, you got to think thick leafed. Anything that has got a thick leaf on it, like your Indian hawthorns and your magnolias and your hollies, those all can take some drought because they have thicker leaves on them. A lot of herbs can do that too. You think of your sages and your oreganos and your rosemaries and the bay leaf. All of those can take a more drought situation because they have larger, thicker leaves. Let's see. Also, Memphis area is very humid.
Yes, it is.
And I don't like putting water in the air to water things. If you can use soaker hoses, that would be the best thing that you can do, because it puts water right on the root zone where the plants need it. And you will save yourself money and time by having soaker hoses, and just all you have to do is go out and hook up a soaker hose and come back in, and then 30 minutes later go out and check, and you know, maybe give it another 30 minutes or not, and you're done. And you don't have to stand there and water anything. So if you can use some kind of system that puts as large particles of water as possible out, you're not going to be evaporating a lot of it in the heat, so you're not going to make Memphis any more humid than it already is. But yes, and you'll save yourself money in the long run because you won't have to use so much water. And now if you have some time when you are planting, I highly recommend adding organic matter to the soil, because soils here in this area are very small in size and they are very tightly held together. So there's not a lot of air and water movement and space for the roots to even grow. So if you amend the soil, organic matter will break that up and give you larger areas to hold water, roots, and air movement. So you're going to do a better job for yourself, save yourself some time in the long run, and not use as much water if you have water that stays in the ground a lot longer, and organic matter will help you do that.
Yes, I can hear Mr. Jim Vogel's in my head right now. Poor space. You know, that's what we need.
Yes, what we need. Space. Okay. And organic matter will help you do that.
Yeah. Okay.
It sure will.
Now let's go back to the mulches for a second. So do you prefer one over another?
It depends on what it is and where it's at. I tend to like mulches that are going to stay on the ground for a lot longer, and that's like your cypress and your cedar mulches, because you don't have to spend more money to add more mulch to the soil. And I usually put those in areas that I have already finished, and I'm not going to be digging in those areas anymore. Another thing, if you've got slopes, you've got to watch, and you don't want something that's going to run. So pine needles tend to really do well on slopes and hold the soil and all the plants and everything. So that's, you know, I would prefer that. It depends on the situation is what mulch I would prefer to put on there.
Yeah, think about the pine needles and the slopes. Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And you did mention about using the circle hoses because you don't want that foliage to be wet. No. You know, with the overhead watering, which I see a lot in the evening, you know, in my own neighborhood. Yeah, it's just prime setup for, you know, fungal diseases and things like that. So we don't want people to do that.
And if you're really good, then you'll put the soaker hoses down and then mulched on top of them, so that you got even, and then the sunlight, it'll look better, the sunlight won't degrade the soaker hose, and they can stay in there for years and years and years and years.
And I do like the whole idea of grouping plants together water requirements. I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works, and they all look good. There's a lot of plants that like succulents, for example, very popular right now. And they don't take a whole lot of water, and they look great. So,
of course, I have to throw in native plants. Once they're acclimated and well established, tend to respond favorably to the amount of water we get in our area.
Yes, they do. And they can take more of our soils too, which is good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. All right, Joellen, we appreciate that information.